Originally, I didn't plan on sharing the story. My desire really to withhold this memory was mostly due to the fact that I showed very poor judgment. I don't know, I felt like I was expecting somebody else to tell it, so most of the details wouldn't be misinterpreted, but I'm the one that has to tell the story. I really would have been happy to keep this to myself for the rest of my life. I haven't really been able to reach the other party, my friend. But I would feel very disingenuous withholding the story from everybody just because there has been so much interest in my past stories. I apologize for the length, but I want to spare no detail. I spent the summer before my first year of elementary school learning to climb trees. There was one particular pine tree right outside my house that seemed almost designed for me. It had branches that were so low I could easily grab them without a boost. And for the first couple of days after I learned how to pull myself up, my favorite place to sit was the lowest branch, dangling my feet. The tree was in our backyard and it was easily visible from the kitchen window, which was just above the sink. Not before long, me and my mom developed a routine where I would go play on the tree and she would wash dishes because she could easily see me from there. As the summer passed, my abilities grew, and before long, I was climbing the tree fairly high. As the tree got taller, its branches not only got thinner, but were widely spaced. So eventually I reached a point where I couldn't actually climb any higher. So the game had to change. I became more concentrated on my speed, and in the end, I could reach my highest branch in about 25 seconds. One afternoon, I got a little too confident. I tried to step on a branch before I had an actual grasp, and I fell about 20 feet. I broke my arm in two places. My mom was running towards me, yelling, and I remember her just sounding like she was underwater. I really couldn't remember what she was telling me, but I do remember being surprised. It's so weird how white our bones actually are. I was going to start kindergarten with the cast and wouldn't even have any friends to sign it. My mom must have felt terrible because the day before I started school, she brought home a kitten. He was just a baby. He was tan with a white stripe. As soon as she put him down, he crawled into an empty case of soda and just was sitting on the floor. I named him Boxes. Boxes was only an outside cat. He never wanted to stay inside. He constantly escaped. My mom had him declawed so he wouldn't destroy our furniture, so as a result, we tried our best to keep him inside. He did everything to get out, and he did every now and then. We'd find him somewhere in the backyard chasing some kind of bug or lizard. Though, if he would catch it, he wouldn't be able to do anything with it. He was pretty invasive, but if he did catch it, he would bring it inside. my mom would always make me take it out. Scrambling, Boxes would always be trying to look over his shoulder. I was telling my mom that he was gonna plan his next move. Once inside, we gave him some tuna fish, and he came to learn that the sound of the can opener is a signal for food. So anytime he heard it, he came running. This conditioning actually came in handy later because Boxes would get out so much more often and run underneath the house into the crawl space where neither my mom or myself would want to follow. It's cramped and there's definitely a bunch of bugs down there. My mother, the genius she is, she thought to connect the can opener to an extension cord and hold it above the hole right underneath the crawl space. Boxes would run every time. He can't resist that tuna. The last time he escaped to under the house, it was actually our last day in the house. My mom had put the house on the market and we had begun packing our things. We didn't really have much. We stretched the packing out, for a while. Though I had already packed my clothes, my mom could tell I was really sad about moving. I wanted the transition to be as smooth as possible for us, and I guess I thought that, doing my part would make me feel better, but nothing really changed it. When Boxes got out, we were loading some things into the moving van. My mom cursed because she had already packed the can opener and she wasn't sure where it was. And I went back to look for it, but I really couldn't find it. So my mom went under the house. She moved one of the panels to the side and she crawled in. She came out with Boxes pretty quickly and seemed unnerved, which made me feel even better about getting out of here. My mom made some phone calls while I packed a little more, and then she came into my room. She had told me that she had spoken to the realtor and we were moving to the other house that day. She said it like it was excellent news, but I thought we were moving to the house next week. It was only Tuesday. We weren't even completely finished packing. But my mom said sometimes it's easier to replace than pack. The truck was already getting full and we need to hurry. I didn't even get to grab the rest of my boxed clothes. I asked if I could call Josh to say bye, but she said we can call him from our new house. We left in the moving van. I managed to stay in touch with Josh for years, which is surprising since we no longer went to the same school. Our parents really couldn't stand each other, but they knew me and Josh were best friends. So they did the best to accommodate us. They would drive us back and forth, and we would do sleepovers on the weekends. For Christmas, one year, our parents even pulled their money together and got us really cool walkie-talkies. They actually worked from the distances between our house. They also had batteries that last for days. Those walkie-talkies were not that bad to use. One weekend, my mom let me go stay over at Josh's house. Boxes had gotten out and was missing for a few days, and I was pretty upset. When I was over at Josh's house, my mom called me to say goodnight. She said she was being pretty watchful, but I knew he was gone. Boxes was missing. This must have been a Saturday night because I had spent the night at Josh's house the previous night, and I was going home the next day because we had school on Monday. Boxes had been missing since at least Wednesday afternoon. I gathered she had not seen him since returning home after dropping me off at school. She must have decided to tell me he was missing if he didn't come back home before I did. I tried my best, but I was devastated. Not only by his absence, but how could she have kept it from me? She told me not to worry. Boxes will be back. He always comes back. But it's been so long and Boxes never came back. 3 weeks later, I stayed at Josh's again. I was still torn up about Boxes, but my mom told me that there have been so many times where pets have disappeared for weeks or even months, only to return on their own. She said they always knew where home was and would always try to get back. I was explaining this to Josh when a thought hit me so hard that I interrupted my own sentence. What if Boxes thought of the wrong home? Josh was confused. What? He knows he lives with you. He knows where home is. But he grew up somewhere else, Josh. He was raised in our own house. In a different neighborhood. Maybe he thinks that old place is home like I still think that old place is home. Oh, I get it. Well, I mean, that'd be great. We tell my dad tomorrow and he will take us over so we can take a look. No, he won't take us, man. My mom said that we can't ever go back to that place because the new owners wouldn't want to be bothered. She said she already told your parents the same exact thing. Okay, then we'll just go out exploring tomorrow and we'll make it to the old... No! If we get spotted by your dad, he'll find out and he'll tell my mom. We have to go there ourselves. We have to go there tonight. It didn't take that much convincing to get Josh on board, since he was usually the one to come up with the ideas like this. But we had never snuck out of anybody's house before. It actually turned out to be incredibly easy. The window in his room opened right into the backyard, and the latch was wooden, so the fence didn't even really lock. After those two minor hurdles, we slipped into the night, flashlights and walkie-talkies in hand. There were two ways to get from Josh's house to my old house. We can walk on the street and make all the turns, or go through the woods, which would actually take us half the time. It would have been a 2-hour walk if we would use the street, but I suggested that we go that way anyway. I told him it was because I didn't want to get lost. Josh refused. He said, if we get seen, they might recognize us, and they will definitely tell his dad. He threatened to go home if we didn't go to the shortcut. I accepted because I didn't really want to go by myself. Josh didn't know anything about the last time I walked through these woods at night. The woods were actually a lot less creepier with Josh around, and we had the flashlights, and we were actually having a pretty good time. I wasn't entirely sure where we were, but Josh seemed confident enough, so it bolstered my morale. We were walking through a really thick grove of trees when the strap of my walkie-talkie got caught on a branch. Josh had a flashlight and he saw I was struggling to get the walkie-talkie off. In the midst of my struggling, I hear Josh say, "Hey man, wanna go for a swim?" I looked over to where he was shining the flashlight, and when my eyes finally met the location, I shut them. I knew exactly where we were. He was shining his flashlight at the pool float. This is exactly where I woke up in the woods all those years ago. I felt a lump in my throat and a sting of tears in my eyes. As I continued to frantically struggle with the walkie-talkie, I yanked at it so hard that it finally broke free. I turned back to Josh, who was practically laid down on the pool float. As I walked toward him, I stumbled and nearly fell into a fairly large hole that was sitting in the middle. I regained my balance and I walked right back to him. Luckily, it was only the edge because that hole was deep. I was surprised by the size, but I was more surprised by the fact that I don't remember this hole ever being here. I realized that it wasn't there that night because this is definitely the same spot that I woke up in. I threw it out of my mind and I turned to Josh. Can you stop messing around? You saw I was stuck over there and you're over here playing around on this stupid pool float. Josh smiled invertedly. Then he suddenly looked terrified and was struggling to get off the float. But he couldn't in a quick manner due to the awkward position that he was laying in. Each time he would fall back in the float, and the screeching of the plastic and his skin would intensify. I wanted to help Josh, but I couldn't move myself any closer. My legs weren't really cooperating. I hated these woods. I picked up the flashlight that he has thrown, and I shined it at the float, not knowing what to expect. Finally, Josh got off the float and rushed next to me. Suddenly, there it was, a rat. I started laughing nervously, and we both watched the rat run into the woods, screeching with it. Josh lightly punched me in the arm. I smiled, and I gave him one right back. We laughed, and then we continued to walk. We quickened our pace, and we made it out of the woods faster than we thought we would. And we found ourselves in my old neighborhood. The last time I rounded this bend, I remember I was running in terror because I had not known where I was. I had seen my house fully illuminated and all the memories of that night transpired and came back flooding. I felt a skipping in my heart, as if we were finally turning the corner and about to face the full view of my house. Remembering the last time, remembering how horrible and incandescent last time was. But this time, all the lights were off. From a distance, I can see my old climbing tree. As we got closer, I could see that the lawn looked terrible. I couldn't even guess when the last time it had been mowed. One of the shutters had been broken off loose and was rocking back and forth in the breeze. And overall, the house just looked dirty. It was really sad for me to see my old house in such a state of despair. Why would my mom care if the new owners didn't even bother to take care of it? Not even a little. And then I realized there were no new owners. The house was abandoned, though it looked simply forsaken. Why would my mom lie to me about having new people in it? But I thought that was actually a good thing. It would be easier for us to look for boxes.
Your old house sucks, dude.
Josh yelled as quietly as he could. Shut up, Josh. Even like this is better than your house. Hey, man. Okay. I think boxes is probably under the house. One of us has to go under and look, and the other has to stay out here just in case he comes out running. Are you serious? There's no way that I'm going under there. It's your cat, man. You do it. Look, I'm game for it, unless you're too scared, I said, holding my fist up. Fine. But we go on shoot, not on 3. It's rock, paper, scissors, shoot, not 1, 2, 3. I know how to play the game, Josh. You're the one that always messes it up and goes on 2. Damn it, I lost. I wiggled the panel loose that my mom would always move and crawled under, hoping to find boxes. She had only done it a couple of times, but the can opener trick usually works. But when she had to do it, she always hated coming down here. Especially that last time. As I looked into the darkness of the crawl space, I suddenly had a greater appreciation for why. Before we moved, she said it was actually better that boxes ran under here. Despite how hard it could be to get him out, it was less dangerous than him jumping over the fence or running to the neighbor's house. All that was true, but I was still dreading doing this. I grabbed the flashlight and the walkie-talkie and began to crawl in. It smelled like death. I turned on the walkie-talkie.
Josh, are you there? This is Macho Man, over and out. Josh, cut it out. There's something wrong down here, man. What do you mean? It stinks. It smells like something died. Is it boxes? I really hope not.
I set down the walkie and moved the flashlight around as I crawled forward. Looking through the hole from the outside, you can see all the way back with the right lighting, but you had to be inside to see around the support blocks. I'd say there's about 40% of the area that you couldn't see unless you're actually down here in the crawl space. But even inside, I discovered that I could only see directly where the flashlight was pointing. I realized that this would make scouting the area so much more difficult. As I moved forward, the smell intensified. The fear was growing inside of me that it actually was boxes. I shined the flashlight around, but I couldn't see anything. I wrapped my fingers around the support block to support myself, and I moved forward. I did that, and I felt something that made my hand recoil. It felt like fur. My heart sank, and I prepared myself emotionally for what I was about to see. I slowly crawled forward, as slow as I could, to prolong the inevitable. I staggered back in horror. Jesus Christ! My mouth was trembling. It was heinous. A twisted creature, so badly decomposed. Its skin had rotten away and its face and teeth appeared to be enormous. The smell was unbearable.
What is it, man? Are you okay? Is it boxes?
I reached for the walkie.
No, man, it's not boxes. Then what the hell is it then? I really don't know.
I shined a light on it again, and I looked at it, and my fear lessened. I chuckled.
It's a raccoon, bro. Wow, you're a fucking pussy. I'm gonna go into the house to see if he might have went up there or something. What? No, Josh, don't go in there. What if Boxes is actually down here and runs out? Impossible. I put the board back.
I looked back, and he was telling the truth.
Why'd you do that? Don't worry, man. I'm pretty sure you can move it easily. This makes more sense. If Boxes runs out and I miss him, he'd be gone. If he's down there, then grab him tight and then I'll come move the board. If he's not, then you could just move the board yourself while I look inside the house. Okay, but be careful and don't touch anything. There's actually a bunch of my old stuff still in boxes in my room. And make sure you take your walkie. Roger that, good buddy. I'll make sure to respect your home, man.
I love Josh, but he could be a little much. I realized that it would be pitch black in there. The power's turned off since no one's been paying the bills. With any luck, the streetlight should be enough to illuminate inside. Otherwise, I'm not sure really what he's gonna do. I started to hear his footsteps above. Hey Josh, I think you're right above me.
Breaker, this is Macho Man, coming back with a big tango foxtrot. The eagle has landed. What's your 20, Princess Jasmine? Over. You are definitely enjoying these walkie-talkies way too much, man. Princess Jasmine, I'm looking in your bathroom at your stash of magazines. Looks like you got a thing for dude spots. What's the report on that? Over. I can hear him laughing without the walkie-talkie. I started laughing too. I heard his footsteps fade away a little, and he was definitely in my room from what I could hear. Man, it's really dark in here, bro. You sure you had some boxes in here, you said? I don't see any. Yeah, there should be a couple boxes in front of the closet. There aren't any boxes in here. Let me check. Maybe you actually put the boxes inside the closet before you left. I started thinking that maybe my mom had come back and gotten the clothes and just given them away. Honestly, it's been a while, so I probably outgrown them. But I'm pretty sure I left boxes in there. I didn't even have the time to close the last one before we left. While I was waiting for Josh, I kicked my leg, which started to fall asleep. I looked back and I saw something really strange. It was a blanket, and around it there was a bowl. I crawled a little closer. The blanket smelled moldy, and the bowls were empty, but one of them I recognized. And it had something inside. Cat food? It was a bowl from our house and it had cat food. It was different cat food than we gave boxes, but suddenly I understood. My mom had set up a little place for boxes to encourage him to come down here instead of running around the neighborhood. That made so much sense. And it seemed even more likely that boxes would come down here in the first place. Jeez, my mom's so cool for that. Bro, I found your clothes. Oh, cool. Where were the boxes? Like I said, there was no boxes, man. Your clothes is all in the closet. They're actually still hanging up. I felt a chill down my spine. This was impossible because I know I packed all my clothes. Even though we weren't supposed to move for another 2 weeks, I packed everything. I remembered that. It would be so stupid for me to hang up clothes after I had packed them away. I packed them, but somebody hung them back up. Why? Josh needs to get out of there. Dude, that can't be right. Josh, they're supposed to be in boxes. Are you sure, man? Stop messing around, just come outside. No joke, man. I'm looking right at them. Maybe you thought you packed them? Wow, you really like to take pictures of yourself. What are you talking about? Your walls, bro. Your walls are covered in Polaroids of yourself. There's about 100. What'd you do? Like hire some?
I checked my walkie to see if I had switched it off somehow, but it was fine. I could hear footsteps, but I couldn't tell exactly where Josh was going. I sat in silence and waited for him to finally finish his sentence, thinking that his finger slipped off the button, but he never continued. He seemed to be stomping around the house now. I was just about to radio him, and then his voice came back.
Dude, there's someone in the house.
His voice was hushed and broken. I could hear him, I think, on the verge of tears. I wanted to respond, but I didn't know how loud his walkie-talkie was turned up. What if the other person can hear it? I said nothing. I just sat and waited and listened. I heard footsteps, heavy, dragging footsteps, and then a loud thud. Oh gosh, Josh. He had been found for sure. The person had found him and was hurting him. I broke out into tears. He was my only friend. Next to boxes, and then I realized, what if Josh told him I was under here? What could I possibly do? As I struggled to compose myself, I thankfully heard Josh's voice through the walkie.
He's got something, man. It's a big bag. He just threw it on the floor. I don't know, dude. It's really big. Oh God, it's moving. Holy shit, it really is moving.
I was paralyzed. I wanted to run home. I wanted to save Josh. I wanted to go for help. I wanted so many things, but I just laid there, frozen. As I laid, unable to move, my eyes focused to the corner of the house that was right under my room. I moved the flashlight. My breath hitched at the same time. Animals. Dozens of them. They were laying in piles under the crawl space. Could boxes be among the corpses? Why is there cat food down here? This is definitely the smell. Seeing all these decaying, beautiful animals broke me. I scrambled to the board and I ripped it out. I pushed it and it wouldn't budge. I couldn't move it. It was wedged and my fingers were just so sweaty. I was trapped. I felt trapped. God damn you, Josh, I whispered to myself. I could feel the thunderous footsteps above me. The house was shaking and I heard Josh scream. It was matched by another scream that was so angry. It was definitely not full of fear, and it wasn't Josh. As I continued pushing, I felt the board move, but I knew it wasn't me moving it. I could hear the footsteps above me, and in front of me, there was shouting and screaming. I moved back and I held the walkie, ready to defend myself. And the board was thrown to the side and my arm shot out and somebody grabbed me. Let's go, man, now! It was Josh. Thank God. I scrambled out of the opening holding the flashlight and the walkie. When we got to the fence, we both jumped it. But Josh's walkie fell. He reached for it, but I told him to just forget it. We had to move. Behind us, I can hear his man's angry yelling. He was just screaming. There weren't any words, only sounds. And we were so foolish to just run straight through the woods back to Josh's house. But we ran, and we got there quicker than we've ever had. The whole way, we can hear screaming. Josh, running, was screaming the whole time. My picture, bro. He kept taking my picture. He took my picture, man. But I knew the man already had Josh's picture. He had the picture from all those years ago when we heard that mechanical sound in the woods. Josh still thinks that was a robot. We made it back to Josh's house and back into his room before his parents woke up. I asked him about the big bag and if it really was moving. He said he couldn't be sure. He kept apologizing about dropping the walkie at the house, but obviously that wasn't the big deal. We didn't go to sleep. We just sat peering out the window, waiting for that angry man. I went home later that day. I told my mom the basics of the story a couple of days ago. She broke down and was furious that I put myself in so much danger. I asked her why she made up all those things about bothering the new owners. Why was she trying to keep me away from the old house? Why does she think it's so dangerous? She became hysterical, but she answered my questions. She grabbed me by the hand and squeezed it harder than I ever thought her capable of. We locked eyes, whispering as if she was afraid of someone overhearing her. Because I never put any fucking blankets or bowls underneath the house for boxes. Honey, you weren't the only one to find them. I felt dizzy. I understood so much now. I understood why she looked so uneasy when she brought boxes out from underneath the house on our last day there. She found more than spiders and a rat nest. I understood why we left our house 2 weeks early. I understood why she stopped me from going over. Why the house is so dangerous. She knew. She knew that yelling, angry man made our crawl space his home. I left without saying another word. I didn't even want her to finish the story. I got home from Josh's that day and I threw my stuff on the floor and it scattered everywhere. I didn't care, I just wanted to sleep. I had an amazing nap. I woke up around 9 p.m. to the sound of boxes meowing. My heart leapt. He had finally come home. I was nauseous to the thought that if I had just waited one more day, boxes would have returned and I wouldn't have gone through all of those experiences from the previous night. But that didn't matter anymore. Boxes was back. He was back. And he was underneath my bed. I can hear him. I leapt off the bed and I called for him. I kept calling him and kept calling him for him to come out from underneath the bed, but he wouldn't. So I finally stuck my head underneath it. His meows were being muffled by his shirt. So I flung the shirt aside and I smiled, "Welcome home, boxes!" But His cries were coming from my walkie-talkie. Boxes never came home. I can hear Boxes' meows grow frantic. She sounded scared, like she was trying to escape. She started to grow angry. She sounded so vicious. She started making sounds I've never heard her make before. And then she stopped.